Welcome to another very special bonus episode of How We Made Your Mother. These episodes, of course, we're calling General Questions. General Questions.
Easy. That was it.
You disgust me.
We did it.
Who
that was a good
discussed
one.
you?
That was a
That
good
was
one.
good. There's a lag.
There's a lag. It's
a lag.
We all
good.
need to be in the same room.
All right.
Come on. Let's all be
I
together.
imagine if we all got in the same room, we would just crush this.
We would.
So a couple days ago, we released the episode where we talked about the wedding, which was, I think, episode 12 of the first season of How I Met Your Mother, which is the show we're talking about, How I Met Your Mother, which ran on CBS from 2005 to 2014, but has had a wonderful, thrilling, brilliant afterlife. People keep discovering the show, and
on Hulu and Netflix, I should point out.
On both.
Please keep watching it on both of those.
Wow.
Watch every episode on both so we get picked up to continue being on both. Give us the numbers.
So we covered a lot of ground on the wedding. I loved our conversation. I love all of these, Craig and Alec. I'm having such a nice time strolling down memory lane with both of you. So
and huge shout out to Alek Lev, by the way, right? Like our
Alek
producer
Lev.
extraordinaire. Alec puts these things together at the beginning of episodes where we hear from fans, the main episodes, not the bonus ones. But boy, is it beautiful. Thank you, Alec, for that. Every time I start to cry. So
yeah,
you're welcome.
Cheers to Alek Lev.
Well, thank you, and I will addendumly shout out Doug, who does a lot of the research and reads through a lot of all these letters, and Emily, who's joined the show, who's also going through all of these, choosing the best openers, best closers for you guys. So it's phenomenal. It takes a village. And Alex, let's talk about Alex for a second. We have an engineer. That's it. That you've just heard the entire Quimium team. Alex is our engineer who mixes all this, makes it sound great.
We love you all. It's great. Thank you, and thank you.
And Alec, all right,
that's it. That's the series finale of our podcast. It sounds like we're signing off for good for some reason.
Alec, you are such a smart film guy. I rarely write a screenplay that I don't run by you because you're so smart about structure. And it occurs to me that in the main episodes, we're really doing a 3-act structure. We have a 3-act structure for this podcast, right? It's intuitively very satisfying the way you're structuring the show.
And I think it does happen, though, because you guys you ramp up, you talk in general about the episode. And then
about the episode.
And then you get into the heart of the episode. And then we end. All things have 3 acts, beginning, middles, and ends. But thank you both. This is the absolute joy of a lifetime.
All right. So what do people want to know more about? Where they want us to go deeper on this episode of The Wedding?
Lots of stuff. I mean, the overall feeling is a deep love for Victoria, for Ashley Williams, and many questions. Even though that was the last 10 seconds.
She's in this episode for 8 seconds, but boy, does she make an impact.
It's a real like movie star kind of reveal. Right? Like it's such a good chill. Reveal.
I get a chill when I watch that moment. And big shout out to Death Cab for Cutie for that song. That song is so great. The combination of seeing her and seeing your reaction, Josh, to seeing her and like that and that song, it's just that is a A+ hymnium moment. One of my favorites.
It's very cinematic. I remember it, Ingrid, to make the ultimate comparison for Ashley, Ingrid Bergman in Casablanca, her reveal is sitting behind this table, basically.
Yes.
Rick is walking, all of a sudden she's there. And in the screenwriting course by Robert McKee, he's showing this scene and he pauses it right after her. And he says, you know what that is? That's a fucking movie star.
Yes.
And that reveal of her, I mean, it's
a movie star moment. Yes.
You tell us to fall in love with her in that moment, and it's really hard not to. So we'll just ask not too much about her, more for the next episode.
Right.
I'm totally lying. I think she's in every question here.
Well, it feels like one episode. That's the thing. It feels like she's in, it just feels like one big 1 hour episode. That's what's hard about this.
Lauren Axel says, did Craig and Carter always have the intention of bringing Victoria back for a later storyline, or was it just because the audience loved her so much? How do you, as writers inside the cave of 20th, how did you know the audience's reaction to her as an actor and as a character?
It's a good question. 2005, pre-Twitter, pre lots of social media, pre-smartphones. You're not getting as much live action feedback, and you get the good and the bad of those two things. But there was some of that, and you saw comment sections, you saw like reviews written up of the show, and you saw people, because by this point in the season, this is the beginning of the second half of season 1, right? It's 22 episodes. It's episode 12. We had some dedicated people at the Onion AV Club, and people who wrote very intelligently about the show in a dedicated way every week. And you just saw people spark to her, right? The people that wrote about the show and the people that you trusted their voice writing about the show. And that was interesting, but really it was our gut. It was just how we all felt. We all fell in love with her. Ashley Williams is a magical, wonderful human being that you kind of fall in love with when you meet her. She's just got this incredible energy. You feel like you know her right away, and there's just charm and depth, and she's just delightful. So it was kind of just working off of that instinct of we just loved her, and Josh had such chemistry with her. What a tall order, right? She's coming into this show. Josh and Kobe have this certain chemistry, right? Like Ted and Robin. And she's coming in and she's got to steal the audience's attention away from this thing we've been investing them in for half a season and say, wait, no, Robin's off doing the 11 o'clock news. Check out who Ted's going to meet at this wedding. To hold that space and instantly command our attention the way she does in that final shot. And you felt the chemistry between the two of you, I think, Josh. It's like, you notice that, right? She rose to that challenge.
You can almost feel the moment she appears on screen, the Team Victoria army assembles. Like it just feels like people are just on her side. Is that the mother? I love her. I want her. I mean, she's so winning. She just has that thing, that ineffable, that thing that you can't explain, but it really, and I always was amazed at the guest stars who really made an impact, because
it's a hard thing to do.
It's a hard gig, first of all, to just guest star, because you're coming into a thing where the series regulars are so comfortable, especially by the 12th episode of the first season, even in later years more. But it's like, that's our home, right? So they're coming in, and the people that can come in and really do it. I mean, she'd been at it for a while. She'd done a lot of shows and stuff. So she really knew how to just drop in to, she was respectful, but she also she made herself at home. And I always loved when Ashley was on set. I had such a good time with her. I got to know her husband real well, who's the best, there was such ease with her being there. And the other thing is, as an actor, you should, they probably called her and they said, you're going to be in the end of one episode and you'll lead into another. So she's booked for basically 2 episodes. And then you get the call, hey, they're bringing you back for another episode. Oh, they're bringing you back for another episode. As an actor, if they keep bringing you back, you're doing something right. And I think, not that she didn't have a lot of confidence, but her, your confidence grows because you're like, oh, they want me to be part of the constellation of characters in this thing.
And I remember the feeling too, at this point in the season, right in the middle of the season, we knew we couldn't do every single week a mislead of is this the mother? No, it's not. Gotcha. Is this the mother? Is this the mother? We knew we had to make it count. So I remember the pressure on casting this, because we're this is going to be a real mislead. This is really going to be, this could be the mother. This is someone that has the gravitas and the charm and the wit and the sparkle to potentially be the mother. We really wanted people to believe that in the moment. And that's a really tough person to find. And with Ashley, you just knew it. You knew it right away. We saw a lot of people, and she was just right. She was just fit in with everybody immediately. You could picture her being part of the series, right? It felt like she could become a series regular, basically, by the end of a couple episodes.
And I wrote you this little ditty to sing to you in New York City.
Craig, you were just at your alma mater, Wesleyan University.
My God, our first road trip as a podcast. It's a trial by fire. You got it. Every podcast has to at some point get on the road.
Take it on the road. Yeah.
Take the show on the road, like vaudeville of yore. You've got to go prove yourself in the small towns. In this case, Middletown, Connecticut. Carter Bays, my writing partner, and I met. How I met Carter. We met at Wesleyan University. That's where I went to college from 1993 to 1997 because we old. That's why that works. That's how that works. And we didn't meet at the beginning of college, but we became bandmates sort of in the middle of college. We were in a 9-man soul band, and there was a horn section, and we all wore really cheap thrift store suits. Alek Lev, our producer, was at probably every one of our shows, I would think, because he was my housemate and roommate and dorm mate all 4 years. Although sometimes you forget that I even went to college. We'll talk about that again at some point.
How long had it been since you've been on campus before we went?
We did, Carter and I, after Himium ended, did like sort of a Q&A Himium-related panel there. But that's already like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We're part of some other like panel of like a bunch of other people like Wesleyan Media, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But it's been literally years. And it's also where I met my wife, Rebecca, who is sort of the basis for Lily. And of course, we had all of these wonderful characters from How I Met Your Mother. We made their backstory. They went and met at Wesleyan. And it's still a big part of their life. So that's why we decided this would be our first road trip.
Look, How I Met Your Mother fans they all feel a kind of ownership of the show because it's so deeply now in their bloodstream.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, when Wesleyan grads come up to me, they say it like, I went to Wesleyan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't.
You were the closest to having gone to Wesleyan.
I'm the closest to having gone to Wesleyan who didn't go to Wesleyan. But what's it like? What was it like to just step onto campus and realize like, wow, I'm not 20 anymore?
Oh yeah, no, you feel it. You really, really feel it. You kind of feel like you're still that person, but then you see people who really are 19 and 20, and you realize like, yeah, that's not me anymore.
Yeah.
But yes, we all got to do this, and we were on the road. And there was no flaws to the plan, and we did everything right, Josh? There's nothing we didn't think of?
I don't know if there was no flaws to the plan, Craig, because you just...
Well, what do you mean?
Well, you were in Connecticut, and then you stayed in Connecticut a little while longer,
Yeah,
right?
I stayed there.
Yeah, well, what was going on with your place back, back home?
I was just sitting here not making me any money, or what?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh?
Exactly.
Oh, and that's bad?
Yeah. You should be making money on your place every time you leave.
Well, Josh, what should I have done? What should I have done?
I think we've been over this, and I think you know what you should have done, and I want you to say it. I want you to say it.
Okay, you know what? This is like I'm not going to learn unless I say it.
Yeah.
This is like, okay, I'm going to say it, and this time it's really going to stick. Guys, while I was away, and while any of you were away, here's what you could have done. Here's what I could have done. I could have hosted my place on Airbnb and made a little extra cash. Right? That's what I should have done. I'm man enough to admit it now in retrospect. You got to think of this before, though. You don't want to look back with regret. Guys, your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host.
I'm going to sort of gather up a lot of people's questions. I'll shout out some names here. Ryan Schwartz TV, Jamie Redfern, Terry OD02. A lot of questions right off of what you two are asking. Many people have a theory that since this was heading towards the 13th episode, which was the first amount of episodes that were bought, right?
Right.
That a lot of people are asking, were you ready for her to be the mother if you were canceled halfway through? Many people ask this question. I'll just ask that one. Yes, no. Was that ever in your thoughts?
We had already gotten picked up for the back nine because the show had done well enough. But in the back of our heads, we probably did put something big there, either thinking if it had to wrap up speedily, we could somehow achieve that, if we had to scramble that. But also it was like, let's put something big right there. Right? At the end of these couple of episodes, we had to leave them wanting more. We had to make the network be like, we made the right decision. We are not going to cancel this show. Right. So yeah, that was in our heads. It's important to remember back to that, right? We were just a season 1 show. We didn't know anything. We were not a hit, or we were building, we were finding an audience, and it's a really good question to remember back to those. Those were the stakes.
It's kind of funny also that How I Met Your Mother fans they're not just lovers of the show. They at this point understand like, oh yeah, they got the initial 13 order. We don't know if they got the back 9 yet.
Like back 9.
they're very well. They're well versed in TV lingo, and they understand that like you're structuring. At this point, you really only had one season of television to deal with.
Yeah.
You might not have gotten more than 22 episodes. So in some ways, you have to have the ripcord ready to go.
And another thing about that, remembering back to that time, is you had to wait a week to see what the hell was going to happen. Ted sees Victoria across a crowded room, this amazing shot, this amazing song. Boom, you have to wait till a week from then. You have to wait till the next Monday to see the next part of that. And I can't emphasize enough how we were writing it like that, right? This was not a binge show. Binging wasn't a thing. There wasn't streaming services. You didn't have every show, every episode you wanted to see right at your fingertips all the time. And it was a product of its time, and I think in a good way. And I like it when streamers, even now, make you wait a week between shows. I still think that is a good way to do TV.
Also, your favorite commercial break bit as Marshall makes popcorn, 3 minutes, comes back with the popcorn.
That moment in Pineapple Incident really owned the commercial break. That was the landscape of how the show was communicated at that time. Yeah. There was no other way to watch it.
It's like people wanted to meet the mother, but it'd be pretty anticlimactic if it was just, how do we meet her? I just met her.
That was her.
Yeah.
I just met her at a wedding.
So. We got canceled.
I do think it's funny. There were at least when the show was on the air, I noticed a lot more people, even coming up to me or journalists asking about it. There was this obsession with like, who's the mother? Who is it? Like we've talked about like, this is really a show about a chosen family in New York City going through their 20s and 30s together. Like that's what the show is broadly. But there was this central theme or mystery that you guys were stringing the thing through, the through line of it. And there are certain people that were so obsessed with that mystery that I don't remember. I don't know. I used to tell people like, well, what if it is like, then it's over. Like, don't you want to watch more of this show that you're enjoying? And if we tell you who the mother is, the show's over. So we're not going to do that right now. Like it's almost like, this is Tantra. This isn't like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. this is like we're gonna play with the energy. We're gonna bring the energy up. We're gonna bring it down. Like this.
Alek, this is your clip. This is your clip. I Met Your Mother. It's the TV show version of tantric sex. That's what it is. Look, I mean, you don't say the butler did it in Act 1 of the mystery movie, right? You can't, like Agatha Christie, like you got to wait for it. I agree.
Wait for it is actually the theme of one of the big themes of the show. Wait for it.
Wait for it.
Yeah.
And what's taken so long? Hey, what's taken so long?
Josh, mixed up in all in the questions that all those folks asked, did you do a chemistry read with her? Does that happen in the midst of
that's a great
series?
question, Josh. Do you think we did that? Because it was so important that you two be good together. Do you think we brought you into that audition process at all? I can't. God, this is old guy theater here.
You know what?
I can't remember. The year was 05.
Alek, we should ask Ashley that when she comes on the show.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember. My feeling is we did not. I remember being told that she was going to play the part, and she had done a series with a good friend of mine, Mark Feuerstein, and I had met her. I'd been to a taping of this show, and I had met her, so I knew who she was, and I knew she was great. So I was delighted when I heard she was going to do it, but I don't really remember reading with people. But Ashley might have a different memory, so let's dog ear that to ask her.
So one or two more here. I have them under the title of Big Questions. Watching this episode again, this is from Yasminez Ekri. Watching this episode again got me thinking, what if the real love story isn't rushing to find someone for the big moments, but trusting that the right person will find you when you're ready, even if that means standing alone at someone else's wedding?
That's a nice thought. That reminds me of the kind of classic Stella thing of like, she's getting here as fast as she can.
Yeah.
To remember that like the person that you're going to be with is going on their own kind of crazy, twisty journey, and it's going to lead to you. Both roads are going to lead to the same destination. But that is an act of faith, to trust that a person is going through their own ups and downs. They're learning the right lessons they need to learn by the time for the time they meet you.
Yeah, it feels like this episode, the star of the end of this episode is kind of the universe in a way. Like that we've watched an entire story. The story had a beginning, middle, and end. And then there's this little magic moment at the end that she happens to be there. And that sends us into the second half of what feels like a two-parter. But really, it's a complete restart, right? It's like, we're not going to keep talking about Robin. We are switching, we are switching it up. We are now going to talk about Victoria, and that there's a magic to that moment, and it is the universe.
You know, we might want to do a whole episode on this, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this, but I think that one of the reasons that How I Met Your Mother resonates so deeply at such a core, almost mythic level with people, you know, there's a lot of, you know, this is, but like in the history of science and theology, like when the scientific revolution happened and the Enlightenment happened, and God was kind of plucked out of the center of the universe, and it became all about, you know, verifiable, provable, material reality. And there's this ache at the heart of the modern life, which is like, we long for transcendence. We're still wired to believe in something beyond that which we can verify or measure, right? And I think that there's something about How I Met Your Mother. Someone could write a really good paper on this, and maybe I'll do it. But there's something about it puts mystery back at the center of things, right? It's not about, it's a lot about what you cannot control, what you cannot see. There is some sort of guiding hand that is at play in How I Met Your Mother. And I think it's very satisfying on a soul level to people, because we don't want to believe. I find a universe that is just material, and when we die, it's just lights out. Like, I find that to be brutalizing to the psyche. I find it to be very difficult to exist in a universe like that. And I don't actually exist in a universe like that. I believe in something bigger. I don't want to unpack all that right now. But I think that part of the magic of How I Met Your Mother is that there's magic in it. Like it allows the universe to be enchanted again. And I think that's very satisfying and relieving to people.
Yeah, and I like that a lot. And at the end of this episode, where Ted is so frenzied and trying to force something into being, something bigger is happening at the end of this episode that's going to change his life. Future Ted says exactly that at the end, right? This sent me in a whole other magical direction I couldn't have known about, basically, is the ending of that episode. And it's kind of the humbling realization that there are bigger forces at work in our lives. And Ted is constantly, right there, that's the philosophical question of Ted, right? Can you force it into being? Can you plant it into being? Versus how much do you have to sort of surrender yourself to something larger? There's some larger story happening, and there's almost something comforting in surrendering to that, right? Because Ted, you're so good in these episodes, Josh, at being the motor. You play the kind of the frenzy of Ted, right? There's a bunch of episodes where you are the motor of this show, right? You're forcing this into being. There's so many episodes where that's the drive. And then it's nice. There's like it's relieving at the end. Ted surrenders at the end of that episode. He's sitting there with Barney, and he surrenders his preconception about himself, that he's the guy that checks, I'm going to have a +1. He surrenders Robin. I'm trying too hard. I'm working too hard at this. It's a complete moment of surrender. And in that moment, he's given a gift.
Right. And I think part of the complicated math that you and Carter and the writers were doing was like, when is it time for Ted to have a win versus when is it time for him to just like slip on the ice or the banana peel, you know?
Yeah.
And it was he always got a win right when I felt like he needed it. I could feel like, oh, thank God he has some wins here, you know?
Sometimes you would say that to us. You're like, I want Ted to stop getting the shit kicked out of him. And it's like, you were right. Whenever you would say that, it was like, he's right. You're the one inhabiting and embodying that.
Yeah.
You're feeling it. You are that guy. You're really living with Ted. You're living in Ted's skin. And like, yeah, you would often protect Ted in that way.
Well, you become a little bit of the guardian or the gatekeeper of him. And I'm like, I know what you guys are doing here. Well, sometimes it was like, I wanted like less comedy at Ted's expense and more. We'll get into this, and I remember feeling it very strongly after Drumroll, which is the episode right after, which is Zip Zip Zip. Is that right?
Yeah.
I remember his romanticism is lionized and heralded in Drumroll Please. Yes. And then absolutely, completely mocked in the next episode. And I remember getting whiplash going between the two. I was like, look, is this,
oh my God.
Do you feel that this is a virtue of his, or do you want to mock this? Like, I was really confused about it.
Yeah. Yeah, in such close proximity too, because Drumroll Please is such a freaking hero moment for Ted, and yeah, that's interesting. Well, we'll get there. We'll unpack that when we get there.
All right. Well, thank you everyone once again for sending in the questions on Instagram. If you're not following us on Instagram, by the way, you should follow us on Instagram.
What are you doing if you're not following us on Instagram?
Come on. I learned Instagram just to be able to do this.
I learned the Instagram. It really is old man theater, a lot of this.
I learned an Instagram. How we made your mother.
I sent an Instagram.
So do that. Follow us. Send in the questions. And thank you all so much.
Thanks, everybody.
I am guilty. Please acquit me. All sins are forgiven in New York City.
How We Made Your Mother is hosted and executive produced by Josh Radnor and Craig Thomas. The show was produced by me, Alek Lev, and our co-producer is Doug Matica. Our audio producer and mixer is Alex Reeves at Point of Blue Studios, and our digital content producer, aka Gen Z Master, is Emily Blumberg. Artwork by John Morrow. Please follow, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your podcast player of choice. It really does help the show. Our theme song is NYC by our own Josh Radnor, with additional music by Craig Thomas and Andrew Majewski. Special thanks to Lola Kennedy and Elliot Connors. Visit howwemadeyourmother.com to sign up for our Substack mailing list and for links to our social media. You can also click on the contact page to send us an email or a voice message. Your stories and questions are an important part of the show. Want some merch? Click on the store link or go to howyougetyourmerch.com. Subscribe to Josh Radnor's newsletters on Substack. Order Craig Thomas's debut novel at craigthomaswriter.com/novel. And you could subscribe to my Dead Fathers Society, also on Substack. To learn about how you make a difference, this show's ongoing campaign to raise money for congenital heart disease research, check out the Make a Difference tab at the top of our website. This episode was made possible by the support of Backyard Ventures. People will, in fact, dance.
The real question, it just hit me. Am I in love with you or just New York City?